welcome in to this week's second episode of the Broncos Europe podcast. We've gone live twice this week, which I know will astound most of you out there after not being on for a while before. We've upped it to 2 episodes this week. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by my ever-present co-host, Mr. Kieran Morley. How are you doing today, Kieran?
Absolutely amazing, Mark, because we've got one of my favourite people in Broncos country sat here with us tonight. So can't wait to do this one and get this one started.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We've been chatting away on the socials for a while now, and it's just an absolute pleasure to announce that Mile High Mario has joined the chat. He's here. He's going to give us a lowdown on the Broncos' schedule, hopefully.
Really appreciate you guys having me on, and you're building me up a lot, and you're really just kind of setting me up for failure. You know, you're saying all these wonderful things and how excited you are. I don't know if you're just not that familiar with my work, but it's disjointed and chaotic. And let's just hope that we get through this without too many messes, I suppose.
I mean, disjointed and messy sums us up perfectly. So you're a perfect addition to the duo. So we'll call us a trio from now on. Well, yeah, like I said,
Mark, if there's one thing that's not disjointed and messy, it's your beard. That thing is fantastic.
I love that. You stop the compliments right now. But if you really want to throw some shade Kieran's way, I'm all up for that as well. Yeah, we're going to discuss a little bit about the Broncos schedule, which was obviously released at 1 a.m. our time. I was not awake for it. But I woke up and saw the schedule. It was leaked before, which is a real pet peeve of mine. Whoever leaks the chat, the schedule, I'm not sure I agree with it, but it was out there for a while beforehand. And I know you put something on your Twitter, Mario, that you don't understand the leaks either.
Yeah, it's. I mean, first of all, can we just discuss how bizarre it is that people get so hyped for a schedule release? Because at the end of the season, all of the teams that you're going to play the following year. And aside from realizing like how many primetime games that you have and who you're playing on primetime, nothing really changes. So it's just funny to me that people will immediately after the season, they're like, oh, we need to hit 10 wins again. We need to hit 11 wins again. And then as soon as the schedule comes out, everything changes. And of course, like it's such a fun thing to do to go through the schedule, even though it's May and they're not going to play until September. A lot of stuff is going to happen. But you know what? We're going to predict the games anyway. Like that's where it gets fun. But it's weird to me. This, I think, speaks to how much control the NFL has, right? It doesn't matter that the NBA playoffs are on. It doesn't matter that the NHL playoffs are on. It doesn't matter that America's pastime baseball is going on right now. People care more about the NFL draft. People care more about the NFL schedule release. They care more about rookie mini camps. Like the NFL is king. But I would be remiss if I did not mention how ridiculous it is that people get so caught up in the schedule release. And yeah, the thing that bothers me about the leaks, and I'll peel back the curtain here a little bit. There are a very select few number of people that have access to the schedule before it gets released. Those people that have access to the schedule really are not supposed to share it. So it gets it gets through people. It always leaks every single year. This is the same thing. And the leak can always be traced back. And the people that are leaking this schedule from the original source are burning that source. All in the matter of like getting the schedule 8 hours early, 10 hours early, maybe 24 hours in advance. So is it really worth burning that really good source that you have just to release a schedule on your own time? That's my problem with it, because I know some of the people that have access to it, and I know some of the people that burn said bridges because they leaked said schedule. So more power to you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you there. If you want to burn your sauce and lose your credibility a little bit, by all means, go ahead and do that just for a little bit of the fans think you have a little bit more know-how, but it's not how I roll. If I had a source, I don't have a source. I'm sure, Kieran, you don't have a source either, do you?
Definitely not. I think for me, Mario, the bit where you're saying the hype, it comes from that gap between end of the season and the start of the new season for fans worldwide, where they're waiting for any little bit the draft comes around. That's a huge bit on the calendar. You're just looking for that next little bit of feed, really, aren't you? And I think that's where it comes, because we get this, Mark. Soccer, Mario, over on this side, the gap's a little bit shorter, the window between the close season and such. The fixture release, the schedule release, it's not as big a thing. I think people are more looking, well, which fixtures have we got around Christmas weekend, New Year weekend, so they can go and plan away trips and have a few beers and things like that, rather than who's your opponent and what's it panning out. But the NFL, for me, I think it's just that window. People are just crying out for something that's material, where they can go, yeah, let's get back into this and get the new season started. And I think that's where the hype comes from me. But yeah, agree with you. Burning sauces for 8 hours. I saw some posted as late as sort of 6 o'clock our time last night, Mark. What was it?
Yeah.
7 hours, 5 hours, whatever the maths is, 7 hours before the release. Yeah, pointless, really. But we're
I'm
here.
pretty
We're going
sure
to
like
delve into it
you
anyway.
guys are you guys live in the future. So I'm pretty sure you probably got the schedule and everything. What is it? It's a 7 hour difference. You guys had it 7 hours before us. So that's the
Exactly.
thing I'm
I've
looking
earned a
forward
lot
to
of
most
money.
going to London.
I've earned a lot of money using this on the bets, I tell you.
I'm
We
still
know,
losing my money, Mark. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
yeah. See, we know when the Broncos score touchdowns ahead of you. We know when we win. It's all fun and games over here.
Yeah, so
Um,
clearly the leak came from London because you guys had the schedule and someone over in London leaked it because y'all are in the future. If I understand time zones, I'm pretty sure you guys are 7 hours in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, you bang on. Definitely right there, Mario. You understand them perfectly. I blame that Jamie Tart. I think he's the only Englishman who's had access to the Broncos camp recently, isn't he? So, um,
yeah.
or Lewis, could be Lewis, I
Could be
suppose.
Lewis. Could be part owner Lewis. Sure, he had something to do with it. So, well, I'll load up the schedule just here now. And what we'll do is we'll go through a little bit by one game by each game at a time, and we'll make a pick each. And basically, if we win, lose, tie, it's majority win. So there's three of us, so there will be a tiebreaker basically. So we should be good to go. And we'll start off obviously week one. It's a great place to start with the Tennessee Titans at home opener. Um, for me here, this is about as good as it gets as a home opener, and it's nice to be at home on the opening day. Kieran, you got any thoughts about the Titans coming to town?
Yeah, I mean, there's big talk, isn't there? We know who they selected in the draft and what they're hoping that could mean for the team moving forward. But week one with a rookie quarterback at home, you're just hoping that this is an absolute rout, really, aren't we? I mean, the weapons has he got? Have they strengthened enough on that side? Given Cam Ward enough weapons to hit? I'm not convinced, really. And I think equally on the defensive side, when you, and no disrespect, because I think Cody Barton did a massive job for us last year. I think but if that's your strongest linebacker and such, I think there's holes on both sides of the ball for me, Mark. So I think this one's not to give me secrets too early, convincing win. This one, so.
Yeah, Mario, you obviously you know a little bit more about maybe the teams that will face. You'll be getting a little bit more news about them over on like your timelines. I just basically get Broncos stuff on mine. But yeah, the Titans, the Cam Ward coming in and facing our defense, just sort of it's a nightmare matchup for him, isn't it?
I mean, this is Cam Ward is going to have a miserable time. I almost feel bad for him because him starting his career really on the road against what could end up being the best defense in the NFL. I mean, Broncos were a top 10 or a top 5 defense rather last year. They got way better. I mean, they've added 3 pieces that will contribute immediately. They've added some depth to that defense. So, as good as they were last year, if everything goes according to plan, they are going to be even better next year. First career game for Cam Ward. He doesn't have a lot of weapons. The running backs really leave a lot to be desired. They're in a full on rebuild mode. Um, this was the ideal way to start the season for the Denver Broncos. They're finally at home. It feels like the last few years. I think someone said 4 of the last 5 years or 3 of the last 4 years, the season opener has been on the road. So to be able to start at home against the worst team in the league last year, the team that had the first overall pick, you couldn't have scripted it any better. And this is fantastic for the Broncos and for Sean Payton, who historically gets off to slow starts, as we saw, really the last couple of years he was here. Last year, even though they still made the playoffs, started 0-2, and they looked a little bit rocky, and then they righted the ship. So it'll be really nice to have arguably the easiest game on their entire schedule week one. That should be an easy win.
Yeah, I think we're all agreed there that this is a comfortable way to start the season. And if for some strange reason Cam Ward doesn't start, it's Will Levis to come in and play our amazing pass rush and defense, and then it'll be the same result either way. So yeah, I think we're all agreed that that is definitely a win on the board. So we want to know going into game two, which is the Colts away from home. We'll be visiting the Colts there. Yeah, Mario, just talk us through this one first of all.
Yeah, the Colts are in a little bit of disarray. So they drafted Anthony Richardson, I believe it was top 5 a couple of years ago. And you want to talk about a guy, maybe the best athlete who's ever played quarterback that we've ever seen in the NFL or at any level. But unfortunately, at some point, you have to have it between the years. You know, trades can only get you so far. Broncos country saw it with Drew Lock. Not to compare Drew Lock to Anthony Richardson, but in terms of a guy who could make every throw, was a plus athlete, like physically had everything that you wanted, but just couldn't get it done. They also signed Daniel Jones in the offseason, and you kind of feel for Colts fans. They had Peyton Manning forever. And then the year after they lost Peyton Manning, they had Andrew Luck. And we know he obviously retired really, really prematurely. And since then, they have had a hell of a time finding a quarterback. I mean, Philip Rivers was there, Matt Ryan was there, Jacoby Brissett was there. It's been a bit of a carousel, not to the point that the Broncos quarterback room has been, but the difference is the Broncos have their quarterback now. I honestly don't know who is going to be the quarterback for the Colts week 2. You assume it's going to be Anthony Richardson. I think Daniel Jones has just as good a chance to start. But this early in the season, going up against a team like Indianapolis, they have a lot of weapons. They have a top 5 running back. Their defense is solid. But again, with this Broncos defense, and you don't know who's going to play quarterback, we saw Anthony Richardson piss down his leg last year. Are we going to see the same thing this year? I think so. This is, again, another easy win for me. So they turned the tables from last season where they started 0-2. They flipped the script, and now they're 2-0.
Exactly. It's a fantastic start, and it's probably Sean Payton's dream start, isn't it, Kieran?
100%. I think you're right, Mario. The question I was going to pose was, how do you see that quarterback battle panning out? Because I don't think it's as clear cut as like you said. You know, especially come week 2, who will be the starter? I don't even know if it'll change a bit through close season as well, Mario. But it's there's either way. Like, I don't think there's enough for us to be worried about coming into this one. And you're right, Mark. 2-0 at this point. The only worry is, you're looking at these 2 fixtures early on in the schedule, like you say, Murray, Titans, going back to that one, you cannot wish for a better fixture to have on the schedule. But there's always that little slight worry, isn't there? You're seeing sometimes get off to slow starts, that banana peel scenario where you sat at 0-1 and you're thinking, how's that happened? And is that the bit that's maybe going to stop us? But I don't see it, in all honesty. I think they're confident it's a convincing 2-0 at this point.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how our defense plays in these 2 opening games on the schedule. They shouldn't be allowing that many points. We should be getting pressure. It could really be an opening, statement games for us to really set us up nicely for the season, get us into our groove again. PS2 locking down one side, Riley Moss hopefully locking down the other with Jardé Barron in there, and then just let the D line loose and just get after the quarterbacks, whoever they are. I think, yeah, definitely a win, and we'll put that one into the chart here, and we'll move on to the first bit of gone grey. Why have I gone grey there? But we'll go into the divisional matchup. First one on the schedule, the Chargers away from home, which basically will be a home game as per usual, like it is every season. The Broncos country will be out there in numbers, making noise, making it feel like a home game. But yeah, Kieran, it's a divisional games are always scary, and the Chargers are an improved team. They're going to be a running team, aren't they? With Harbaugh in there, so just give us your quick thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think that run game's going to be, well, it was non-existent to some degree, wasn't it, last year? But the 2 weapons that they've added this year, Mark, with Hampton and then Harrison and free agency and such. But we know they've got receivers as well, so I think that it is going to be more of a contest than it's ever been. This is probably the one where I it could go either way for me. I think coming into it, it's how we attack it. I think this is the first one, and this was just, so I didn't have us whitewashing the league and going 17-0. That's just madness. This is the first one where I've put us down as a potential early season loss, but whether or not that was just to pull the numbers down, or maybe he's been a bit too nice elsewhere. But I think they have got some weapons. They're probably still lacking in that tight end room when Will Disley's leading that room. It's and can we cope with the rest of it? We brought in some players to help shore up that run defense and such like that. So it'll be tight. I think it'll be closer than it has been, but come back to us on my decision. I'll sit on the fence for now. I'll stay on the fence.
Are you sitting on the fence, Mario, on this one, or are you going for a firm decision either way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to be as optimistic as possible, but I'm going to be honest. This Chargers team really scares me. I mean, Harbaugh comes in and he immediately makes his mark on this team. They took one of the best left tackle prospects or tackle prospects that we've seen last year in the top 10. They got a very good running back this year. They got a very good wide receiver in the draft last year and this year. Harbaugh has really put his stamp on this team, and they are going to want to grind it out. You already mentioned earlier, added Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton, a guy that I would have loved to see here in Denver. This is going to be a smash mouth football team. This is going to have Harbaugh written all over it. They're going to want to run the ball down your throats. They're going to want to run smash mouth football. And then they're going to go to the perimeter and they're going to go over the middle of the field with Lad McConkey. And honestly, drafting a guy like Jahdae Barron is specifically for somebody like Lad McConkey. I feel like Barron is going to start in the slot at least early in the season. I think Riley Moss, as of now, is locked up on that that perimeter cornerback spot. Obviously, PSU is going to be on the other side. But man, this Chargers team, Justin Herbert's a fantastic quarterback, top 10. You could argue top 5 in the league. He's just been a part of some not great situations, and Harbaugh seems to be riding that ship. The only time that you don't need to worry about the Chargers is when they're in the playoffs, because you know that Chargers are going to charger as soon as playoff time is here. But during the regular season, man, this is going to be a really hard time. This is going to be a really hard test. This is going to be the first true test, I think, that the Broncos face up against. I have this down as a loss as it stands right now, just because I think the Chargers match up really well against the Broncos. Like what we've seen the Broncos struggle with, it seems like the Chargers do really well. And if we look back to last year, both of those kind of felt like anomaly games. We remember Pat Surtain got hurt on the very first play of the game. I think when something like that happens, the Broncos' game plan on defense, it all revolves around Patrick Surtain, as well it should. When you lose him on the first defensive snap of the game, it immediately changes everything on the fly. That's a very difficult thing to do. And what a lot of people didn't realize, like, not only are you losing PS2 on the field in his production, but then you're losing that fire. Like, guys see their best player, like literally the best player on the team, go out like that, and the energy is just sucked completely from that team. And you could tell they did not look like a good football team during that first game. And then it was interesting because the next game in LA, they had a chance to clinch. They came out guns blazing. They looked fantastic. And everything that they were doing that was working in the first half, they got away from. They blew a big lead, and we had to wait another week to see if this team would make the playoffs. I think that the games are going to be closer than they were last year. But until they beat the Harbaugh Chargers, I can't respectfully think that they are going to beat them until they actually do it.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It's always a tricky matchup against the Chargers. When you take the crowd out of it, they're a well coached team with Harbaugh. That, like I say, their run game is what they lean on, and that has historically been where our defense has been its weakest. I know we've took steps this year to try and shore up that run defense, and I hope that we'll see it massively improved from last year. We've said a few times on the show that we're fed up of seeing these second string, third string running backs absolutely torture us week in, week out. These no-namers sometimes come in and just absolutely for 200-yard games sometimes. So, yeah, I think I'm with you. I think this could be our first loss on the cards. If we could go the AFC West and split the Charger games and win one, lose one, I'd be happy there. So I think we're agreed on that. This might be the first loss on the season, so we'd be going into the Bengals game 2-1, which again I can't turn my hands down at there. So yeah, we'll put a loss on the cards there and move on to the Bengals game, which they are an offensive-minded team, aren't they? With their moves in the off-season, they are all offense. They're all in on offense. The defense must be looking at the ownership and the people in charge, going, "What are you guys doing? Do you not love us? Do you not think we're worth our money?" But yeah, Kieran, there's rumours that Hendrickson might not play the year if he doesn't get a contract. So that's their best defensive player. Potentially could be out as well. So yeah,
I think there's a couple of holes on this one for me, Mark, where you go, yeah, we can get the win against it. They have got the weapons, like you say. I mean, Chase Brown putting up good numbers last year at running back. They've locked down the 2 wide receivers, but Joe Burrow was, under fire a lot. The O line wasn't doing a great job, and it's how well's that improved, but also defensively, the weapons we've got this year on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I think this one, I'm not going to say it's a convincing win because the Bengals will be there or thereabouts. They'll be pushing on for the playoff run, but I'm quite confident this is one. If again we lose to the Chargers, we bounce back week 4 against the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals game last year was the one that really made us think to go out and go get that cornerback in the draft. With Barron sitting there, I think it was an easy pick in the first round, to be honest, that who sat there and the quality of player. But the Bengals game last year, where Higgins and Chase just had their way with us, as they will do with many teams, by the way. I think that's why we went out and tried to solidify our secondary to give us a better chance in these kind of games. Mario, where do you see this one going?
I think this is the ideal time to get the Bengals. I mean, for as long as I can remember, the Bengals start slow. And we remember the end of the season last year when Bengal fans were all up in arms that the Chiefs let the Broncos win because they thought that they were scared of the Bengals coming into the postseason. And I'm just like, if you don't lose to the Patriots week 1, then we're not having this conversation. If you're not a famously bad starting team at the beginning of the season, then we're not having this conversation. This is exactly when you want to get the Bengals, and this is exactly where you want to get the Bengals. Last year's game felt like a bit of an anomaly to me because Pat Surtain, of course, did his thing. I know people will see Jamar Chase and T. Higgins stat lines, and they'll think, oh, well, Pat Surtain wasn't at his best. But if you look at the advanced stats of when Pat Surtain was actually lined up against one or the other, he completely locked down his side of the field, even forced a massive fumble late in that game that really gave the Broncos a chance to win, and unfortunately they squandered it. The Broncos are not going to lose a Monday night game at home against the Bengals early in the season. I can see this game being a shootout because, like you guys said, the Bengals have invested everything on offense, nothing on defense. And they are so cheap that their first round pick, I believe it was Shamar Stewart, still has not signed his rookie deal and is holding out because they are trying to lowball him. This should be an easy thing to do, is sign your draft picks. And they're so unbelievably cheap that they won't even sign their first round draft pick. And people think that Hendrickson is somehow going to be satiated by this front office. I would be shocked if Hendrickson is playing. If anything, he's going to hold out because he has said repeatedly, I am not playing on my current deal. And I just don't see a world where the Bengals actually commit money to more than one spot. So this to me is an easy win. Bengals start the season slow. Broncos are going to be at home on Monday night. Revenge game from last year. This is the perfect setup. This is exactly when you want them, at what time. I think it's an easy Broncos win.
I hope you're right there. We will be up very early for this one. It's a 1:05 in the morning kickoff for us over here in the UK. 2:05 for those further afield in Europe. So it's our first one of the season. So I'm hoping that'll be a fun one to watch. I think it will be a little bit of a shootout. We get a couple of stops on defense though, and Bo Nix will hopefully be able to carve up that lackluster Bengals defense there. Yeah, I'm with you. So it's 2-1. I don't know, 2-0. So Kieran, are you also on a win?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I was gonna say, I think that's one. Like you say, there'll be some touchdowns in it, Mark, but it's a win, easy.
I think we're all agreed there. So Eagles coming to our Super Bowl champions, where we go and visit. This to me is it's a free shot, isn't it? You're playing the Super Bowl champions away from home, week 5. You're playing with house money, so you lose. People expect you to lose, but you win. You're looking at hopefully 4-1 on the season, and I think we've got a really good shot at winning this. The Eagles have lost a few key players in key positions, and we're looking to have been trending up for this one. So, Mario, were you impressed with the Eagles last season in their Super Bowl victory? And do you think the Broncos have got enough to stop them and really make a charge at winning that game?
I was blown away by the Eagles last year. Absolutely. I mean, I was a massive Eagles fan in that Super Bowl because I hate the Chiefs and I'm so ready for them to be done. I'm sick. Like I don't have any ill will towards Taylor Swift. I respect her talent, but I'm sick of it. I'm sick of Patrick Mahomes and his Kermit the Frog ass voice. I'm sick of Travis Kelsey. Like, bro, hang him up, dude. You're done. You've done everything that you need to do. Just go away. And I'm sick of Taylor Swift. Like, I honestly like her music. And again, I respect her talent. I just don't need to see her. And the Chiefs have 8 primetime games, of course, more than any other team, even though they got boat raced in the Super Bowl. So while I have a soft spot in my heart for the Eagles because of what they did to the Chiefs during the Super Bowl, and because I loved Vic Fangio as a defensive coach, I hated him as a head coach. This is such a tough matchup. And I'll tell you this, gents, I would feel a lot better about this game if they didn't have if it wasn't immediately after a Monday night game. That's one less day to prep, that's one less day to recover. There is, it's one less day to prepare for like the traveling that you're going onto the East Coast. That's a far trip. I'm curious to see if the Broncos will like go out there a day early just to acclimate. But this is where it makes it difficult because they're playing a Monday night game and it always screws up the schedule. And I assume, for what it's worth, that they are going to stay out on the East Coast, not come back home, and they're going to go from the East Coast directly to London before all of that. So, honest to God, like if this was not preceded by a Monday night game, I would feel a lot better. But because the Eagles are going to have an extra day and Vic Fangio is, for my money, the best defensive coordinator in the entire league. I mean, we saw it firsthand here. He was not cut out as a head coach, but he's a fantastic defensive coordinator. It's going to be a really tough day for Bo Nix, the second-year quarterback going up against that defense. I think the only way that the Broncos win this game is their defense is going to have to match the tone of the Eagles. You have to hope that you slow down Saquon Barkley. You're going to go ahead and put Pat Surtain directly on A.J. Brown. But then you have to worry about Devontae Smith. You have to worry about all their other weapons. This is a loss for me, but I think it's going to be a close game, and it would have been a win if it wasn't preceded by a Monday night game.
Mario, does the loss of Kellen Moore is sort of that offensive side of the ball, will it be the same? Is that something that you're factoring into this decision early doors, or is it too early to, all of this is too early, we'll be honest about that.
I mean,
but
it's obviously too early, and it's tough to say right now, and the picture will become clearer as we go along. But the Eagles, we saw last year during the regular season, they were a little bit of a helter-skelter team. Like you could tell on paper they were the best team. And I think they had the best roster in the NFL, and I don't think it was really that close. But this is a team over the past couple of years that tends to lose games that, maybe they should win. And we have to hope as Bronco fans that this is going to be one of those games. Like for whatever reason, they just come out flat. They're not firing on all cylinders. But this is a really tough ask on a short week, going all the way to the East Coast. The guys are going to have London on their minds, and so when we start talking about all these other mitigating factors, we're just trying to look at big picture right here. Such a tough matchup, especially where it is after the Monday night game, right before they go to London. It's just a monumental task all around.
Yeah, so pretty much nailed on the head. Not much else to talk about in that one. I've had them down as a loss on this game as well. But like I said, we're playing with house money. If we go in there and manage to cause an upset, I'd be absolutely delighted. But Eagles going to that one as favourites and hand the Broncos a second loss on the season. which moves us on to a game where we probably won't mention much in the next couple of months. It's nothing big for us over here. I probably won't even go myself. Don't know about you, Kieran.
Washing my hair. Or I'm gonna try and grow my mustache in a bit, Mario, as well. So you know what I mean. We're busy in October, but yeah, this one hopefully. And Zach mentioned it on the podcast, didn't he, on Tuesday when we had the honor of having Zach Stevens on that. We hope we're going at this one, Mario, and it's an absolute show for Broncos fans in the UK. You know, when they come across and this Jets team, you know, they haven't improved. They were poor last year. They haven't improved much from what it looks. You know, the acquisitions and such they've made in free agency, and you know, there's some good players they've brought in. You know, they've improved a little bit on that O line, I suppose, from Mbu, but who've they got a quarterback? It, I think it's one of these where hopefully we are very happy, Mark, and we have organising some good events in London to sort of party before and after because yeah, there's nothing stopping me from getting a convincing win here.
Yeah, I think we're hopefully expecting the same kind of game here. You know, we managed to grind out a win last time they played in London with a little bit of a second half comeback. But Mario, are you excited for the trip over to London, and do you expect us to get the win?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I had such an amazing time in London last year, or a couple of years ago. The hotel I stayed at was literally right across the street from Wembley. It was like a 5-10 minute walk. The area we were in was unbelievable. So I'm hoping that that Tottenham area is very similar. This is another great matchup. And I'll tell you what I like most about the fact that they're playing the Jets in London is they don't have to play at MetLife. I hate that stadium. I hate that turf. I hate the fact that they call themselves the New York Jets, but they're in New Jersey. I don't know if there's like a similar thing out there for you guys, but it's just like imagine living in Brussels and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is London." It's like, "No, it's not. It's a completely different place." Like people like London and Brussels is bullocks or hopefully that whole metaphor tracks. No,
Well,
but the Jets are not a good team. They have Garrett Wilson. They don't really have a lot of other weapons at wide receiver. Brees Hall, famously very good against the Denver Broncos, but he can't manage to stay healthy. Had a very down year last year. I believe it's a contract year for him, so maybe he turns it around. They have a stable of like average to good running backs. Their defense is fine. I mean, they're in disarray. They're in shambles. Uh, they have not solved their quarterback problem. I think Justin Fields is fine. He's a very aggressively mediocre starting quarterback, but I think that he is going to be an absolute hell against the Broncos defense out there in London. So when we have our Let's Talk Broncos / Broncos Europe party out there on Saturday night beforehand, we are going to get good and drunk, and then we are going to go sleep it off. And then the next day, we are going to get good and drunk before, during, and after the game and celebrate yet another Broncos
yes.
victory and them going to 4-2 on the season.
I'm totally with you there, and it's not about you coming on the pod and dropping some spoilers there to unreleased news, but yeah, you're dropping it out there, but it's all good. Like I say, we are working together to hopefully have a joint party on Saturday night in London, which I know will be well attended by Broncos country from over in your neck of the woods and from around Europe as well. So we're definitely excited for that. We've already penciled in the win. We're going to show out in force at Tottenham.
Real quick, Mark, sorry to interrupt you, but I saw the question that you put up there. The most memorable Broncos game I've ever been to. I'll just tell the story really quick. Super Bowl 33. My dad was the official chiropractor for the Broncos that year, worked with all the players, got tickets. So I got to see firsthand the Broncos win their second straight Super Bowl down there in Miami against the Dirty Bird Atlanta Falcons. And a funny little story, right before Rod Smith's touchdown catch, the 80-yard touchdown catch. I think it was right after a punt or a kickoff, so it was a quick turn. It was a quick turn. My dad went up to the bathroom. Now he and Rod Smith were incredibly close up until really the time that my dad passed. They were very good friends, and for about 20 years after that game, my dad never wanted Rod Smith to know that he was in the bathroom during his touchdown catch, which was the longest touchdown in Super Bowl history at the time, if I'm remembering correctly, or the longest touchdown catch. And he was so embarrassed that he did not want Rod to know. So 25 years later was when Rod finally found out that my dad did not see the greatest play of his entire career. But
Oh,
that was
Love
the
that.
best game I've ever been to, obviously.
Yeah.
what
And
an amazing memory as well. Just
yeah.
to have, it's dreams that will, for us to ever go to a Super Bowl is pretty much impossible. But it's just absolute dreams that what dreams are made of. Shall we quick fire through a few games here? Just because I'm worried about the time because obviously I know you have to go shortly in a 8:15 ish our time. But if we quick fire through the next sort of 3-4 games, well, we'll talk a lot more about the Raiders game, obviously. But the Jets at home, the New York Giants at home, which I thought would be a bye. I'm sure a lot of people thought it would be a bye week coming off the London game. A lot of teams obviously do that. But it actually works out quite well for teams coming off the London games or international games that don't have a bye. I think their overall record is around 12-4, which is pretty impressive. And it's probably a team you're quite happy to play in that. They're a weak team. They've not really improved as much as they probably wanted to. They're still in a bit of disarray. I'm delighted to have the Giants in that slot. So I personally would think we come off London and hopefully we don't have jet lag or anything like that and secure the victory. I've got them down as a victory in this one.
100% agreed, Mark. I think that QB battle there through camp is probably one of the most underwhelming ones, isn't it, in the NFL this year? But yeah, for me, easy win this one. And like you say, a great fixture and probably one of the reasons, yeah. Would Mario, from your experience, would the Broncos travel back to the East Coast and stay East Coast, or would they go back to Denver and then make the travel back for that Giants game?
Oh
You
no, the
know, from
Giants game is in Denver, so they'll be
oh,
they'll be
sorry,
going
yeah,
straight
sorry, of
home
course it
to
is.
no, it's all good. They'll be going straight home to Denver, and if you're not going to have a bye, and here's the thing that people need to understand: the teams basically have to give permission to not have their bye week after a Europe trip, which
Yeah,
means that Sean Payton had the option of having the bye week after the London game, and he chose not to. I think this is ideal because where the bye week is, perfect place. Towards the end of the season, it's exactly at the time that you never want an early bye, but you also never want too late of a bye
yeah,
because then it's like maybe if you have momentum, it throws it all off. And if you're not going to get a bye after the London game, the second best thing is a game against the Giants. I really hope that we finally get the retribution that we deserve against Russell Wilson, but I think there's a really good chance that either he ducks it or it's Jackson Dart time in New York. I honestly like what they're building. I like Brian Dable as a coach a lot, but they are, again, still rebuilding. They're not there yet. This should be an easy win, regardless of which of the three quarterbacks we are going to see. Personally, I hope we see Jameis Winston again.
he's a fun one to watch, though, isn't he? He's a fun one to watch, Jameis.
I've been seeing a bit about Jackson Dart on the socials, and I kind of like his personality. I think he could be the future there in New York. But I hope it's Russell Wilson coming in there. I want our revenge against him. I hope he doesn't dodge us. But yeah, I think we're all going win on this one, which leads us on to the Cowboys, America's team, at home again in week 8. They're a strange team, the Cowboys, for me. And I've got us down as a victory in this one. I just think we're overall have more quality in this team, but the Cowboys can surprise anyone, really.
Well, we know, Mark, don't we, what they're going to do in the run game this year, and I think, no disrespect to ex-Broncos and such in that room, but it's not going to be great, is it? And yeah, I just think they don't have enough. I know, it's keeping Dak healthy for one. They have acquired Pickens having this, so there's a bit more beef in that wide receiver room and such. But yeah, I'm just not convinced they're gonna do massive things again this year. So I think this one's quite a, let's say, easy win. None of them will be easy wins, but a good win for us. And a nice little run there of a few good results.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one's simple to me. The Broncos have the Cowboys number. I can't remember the last time that the Broncos lost to the Cowboys. I feel like it's been decades. Matter of fact, I have it pulled up right here. Let me look at this really quick. Yeah, the last time that the Broncos lost to the Cowboys would have been in 1995. So whether it's in Denver, whether it's in Dallas, whether Denver is favored, whether Dallas is favored. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember the last game they played against Dallas. It was one of Teddy Bridgewater's best games. The Cowboys, I think, were a one-loss team at that point, or they might have even been undefeated. They were kind of the toast of the NFC, and the Broncos just ran through them, even though they were not a good team. This is just one of those weird matchups that the Broncos just have. The Broncos have the Cowboys number, so for me, this is a win and it's an easy one.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, good,
Chalk it
good.
up, Mark.
What's that?
Chalk it
Sorry.
up. Chalk
It's
it up.
all on. It's all on. It's already in, locked in somewhere for reload. And then so it moves us on to a road trip to the Texans. CJ Stroud, obviously, hope he'll probably have a better year than last year. His weapons, his wide receiver weapons, look uh, pretty tasty to me. I think they'll go back to sort of being the team they were not last season but the season before. Um, Again, a tough game for us, but coming off the back of 3 straight victories, hopefully. Um, I hate being too optimistic, but I've got us down for another win.
I think for me, Mark, this one though, it's what protections Stroud gonna get, and again, it's a young receiver core he's got now, hasn't he? Stephon Diggs is gone. Tank Dell, I don't know what his injury recovery path looks like, but Larry Tunsil's gone. Brought in a couple of older heads to fill that O line and such, but it's how that pans out. And for me, at the moment, I've chalked us down for a win on this one as well.
Yeah, I agree completely. I am not sold on the Houston Texans. They did not have a great year last year. I know they kind of surprised a lot of people when they beat the Chargers, but again, Chargers going to Charger in the playoffs, so it really shouldn't have surprised anybody. They decimated their offensive line, which was bizarre to me. They, like you said, they traded Tunsil. There was another. I'm spacing on his name. I think he was Green or someone. They got rid of another one of their guards. Tank Dell probably will miss the entire season. And I think that guy has some serious thinking to do about, possibly life after football because he's had two pretty
Yeah,
gruesome injuries back to back years. And even if he is somehow, some way back for this game, he's not going to be all the way back. And you can kind of tell the way that the Texans drafted, bringing in Jaden Higgins, who I was a huge fan of, bringing in Jalen Noel, who I was a huge fan of. Noel is basically going to be their Tank Dell replacement. He's a lot like Marvin Mims, as a matter of fact, except not quite as explosive. So they did a good job in the draft kind of addressing that. But again, offensive line is the most important thing to have when you have a franchise quarterback. The Broncos currently have it, the Texans do not. And I just don't have a lot of faith in Houston. And I've gone to a couple of games in Houston, and it is about 40% Broncos fans. So it's like what you see in LA in terms of how many Bronco fans there are. Houston is not a far cry from that. Bronco fans really travel well to Houston. So I don't think that it's that big of an expectation to win or like it's that big of a deal. I think this is a pretty confident win.
I
yeah,
mean, we're on a 4 game winning streak here on the back of London, rolling right into 2 divisional home games against the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Raiders, I'm pretty confident we will be. They look to be the worst team in the AFC West, just on paper, that is. Obviously, we'll never know until the season starts, but they've got some handy weapons there. Obviously, they've got Brock Bowers, who's probably one of the best tight ends in the league. He had an amazing season last year. Um, they've got Geno Smith in at quarterback now, who is just he's a league average quarterback, isn't he? He'll improve them from last year. And Pete Carroll, he will, I'm sure, lean on the run game. They've got Ashton Janty in there, who hopefully, I mean, we said it on the draft pod, didn't we, Kieran? That we wanted him in Denver, and I'm hoping he doesn't come and absolutely dominate against us in both games this season and for years to come. But I've got the first game down as a win against the Raiders, and the Chiefs. Who knows against the Chiefs? But yeah, I've got a win against
yeah.
the Raiders.
Fun fact, and Mario, you probably already know this one, but last year, Mark, the Raiders were the only team in the AFC to win no divisional games. So long may that continue. Let's just steamroll this one. Let's get a win, and we'll move on to the Chiefs in week 11.
Now, this is a Thursday night game. It's a primetime game for the Broncos, and you almost always have to favor the home team in a Thursday night game because it's such a short week. They don't have to do any
Yeah.
traveling. The Raiders are in a rebuild, and I think they're going to be better. They're going to be much
Yeah.
improved from they were last year, but they set the bar so incredibly low last year that it's not a difficult one to clear. I think this should be another easy win for them. I like Genty, but he's only a rookie. They don't quite have the offensive line that they're going to need, like the Pete Carroll type of offensive line that he wants to run the football. Geno Smith is going to be a placeholder. They're going to be in the market for a quarterback in next year's draft. And as good as Brock Bowers is, the Broncos figured him out last year when they played in Vegas. They just threw Pat Surtain on him. In fact, they kind of figured it out midway through the first Broncos Raiders game. Pat Surtain was on him more than I think a corner is usually on a tight end. Completely took him out of the game. Now, again, they added some good pieces. They've got some good athletes there. This will be a better Raiders team. But I would be shocked if the Broncos are losing a prime time game at home against the division rival who is rebuilding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Agreed.
I fully expect the streak to continue against them, which moves us on to the Chiefs. Sorry, famously the place of my the team that the only victory I've seen at Mile High. I was there when we broke the streak the other year. I am available for the Broncos to fly me out every time they need to break streaks or need to secure a win. But I'm just waiting for that invite from the Broncos. How do you see this one going, Mario?
This is another win. I'm going to tell you why. They finally got the monkey off their backs. And everybody knows they were one fluke blocked field goal away from sweeping the Chiefs last year. Now, I mean, honestly, I would have loved to play the Chiefs at full strength in week 18 last year. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's what I was hoping for. It was nice to get a win. It was nice to look so dominant, but it was basically a scrimmage. You're going up against their JV squad who are treating it like a preseason game. Spagnola's not revealing anything. Andy Reid's not revealing anything. We need to see a true blue Broncos victory at home against the Chiefs when it really matters, when it can make a difference. That has to be this year. And the thing that I like most about it is because they're going to be coming off of a Thursday night game. And if you're sensing a pattern, like I had said yesterday, right before the schedule release, like I saw the schedule, I think it's very favorable. These are the reasons why. Okay. They have extra days to rest and prepare against the Kansas City Chiefs. So, whereas the Broncos are going to start putting work in Friday or Saturday, the Chiefs aren't going to start preparing for the Broncos until Monday that following week. That is massive in the NFL when you are a good team and when you are a well coached team. When you have a Sean Payton who is given extra days to prepare for a Steve Spagnuolo defense, to prepare for an Andy Reid offense, what the Broncos have done ever since Sean Payton got here and started working with George Payton is figuring out and building the team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw it last year in Kansas City. And again, if it wasn't for a fluke blocked field goal, that is a win for the Broncos and they would have swept the Chiefs. What they have done with this team, they are building it to beat the Chiefs because that's what you have to do. In the NBA, it was the exact same thing. After the Nuggets won the title, all the teams in the Western Conference were figuring out a way to stop the Nuggets because they were the perennial team that you needed to beat. That's how the Chiefs have been in the AFC. And so all of the top AFC teams, Chargers included, the Ravens, the Bills, what they are doing is building their teams to beat the Chiefs, and the Broncos have done a fantastic job. How do you beat them? You have to get consistent four-man pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and you have to have a really good secondary. That's exactly what the Broncos have done. They added depth to the defensive line. Benito's going to be another year older, another year better. Jonathan Cooper's going to be another year older, another year better. Same with Jonah Ellis. Same with Dondre Tillman. Everything that they have done, everything in the draft is to beat this team, and I think that they do it thanks to those extra days they have to prepare.
Yeah, I'd agree. And Mark, just to jump ahead to, I had this one down as a win going in, but just to jump ahead to the sort of later fixtures, obviously we play the Chiefs at Christmas, and that's the one I think just on the odds of it, I think it's both the Chiefs and the Chargers week 17 and 18. That's where I split my votes. I think, in the divisional games, I think we sweep the Raiders. I think we get 2 wins against them home and away. But I've got us, unfortunately, getting a lump of coal and I was stuck on Christmas and the Chiefs nicking that one. And then we bounce back against the Chargers after a road loss and beat them at home in week 18. And I think it's just, as you said, Mario, I think the Raiders are going to be better. I think that gap in the AFC West is getting tighter and tighter because both us and the Chargers are going up. The Chiefs are maybe just coming down ever so slightly, and the Raiders are back, the rear of the pack, but they are improving. So I know I jumped ahead to a couple there, but I think that's kind of where I'm looking for those ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, and we could just get that one out of the way. I mean, Christmas Thursday night in Kansas City, the league is they're effed up for putting the Broncos
Yeah.
in this position, and it sucks. Like you got to look at the mental aspect of it. These guys don't want to be away from their house, from their families on Christmas. They're gonna miss Christmas Eve and Christmas with their families. It's Kansas City in December. That's almost an impossible place to win in December. The Broncos historically really bad in Kansas City in December. Only a couple of franchise wins in the history of this team. And yeah, I agree. I think this is definitely one of their losses.
Yeah, I think we're all agreed on that one. It's a tough place to go, especially on Christmas Day. We've already put our excuses in to the families and say we're going to have an early night because we'll have to be up at 1 a.m. on Boxing Day for that one. But we've got the excuses ready, haven't we, Kieran?
Yeah, of course. Just to fill up your sheet, Mark. Week 12, I think we get the win. Put that one in. We'll chalk up another one.
Yeah, we'll get the win against.
On the bye.
I was trying to figure out what you were saying then, but yeah, we'll definitely win the bye and move on. I think this is a perfect place for the Commanders game after the bye. It's probably one of the toughest games on our schedule with Jaden Daniels looking like he's going to be an absolute legend in this league and one of the top, the better quarterbacks there. I've got this down as a loss actually, away from
likewise, but I think it's like you say, it's probably the best position for it to come. But that Commanders team at the moment it's just looking good, and we're open to the sort of second year jitters as much as everybody's saying. Will Jaden Daniels have the second year jitters? I don't think either quarterback do. I think they get better and better, and they're just building a nice roster out there. So despite the bye, I think it's a difficult one going into it, isn't it? And I think we're again, just to pull the numbers down a little bit, we've got to take the orange tinted glasses off, Mark, as you say, and I think we come out with a loss on this one.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm literally wearing orange tinted glasses for that very reason. But no, I think this is a loss. And I'll tell you why I don't think the bye is going to make that big of a difference is because Washington is also coming off a bye.
Yeah.
They have a bye in week 12, same as the Broncos. So it kind of mitigates the advantage that they have. I will give you a bold prediction, though, because this is going to be the battle that everybody looks at. It's going to be Bo Nix versus Jaden Daniels, even though it's team versus team. It's never quarterback versus quarterback. Bo Nix is going to outduel Jaden Daniels, but the Commanders are going to win this game.
I mean, it's a statement there. Yeah, I think you could be right. We've all gone for a loss on this. I think we're two very similar teams in terms of what we're building and where we're at. I think they're just a little bit ahead of us, and that's no shame on the Broncos at all. I just think they started a little bit earlier and are slightly ahead of the curve where we are. But we're definitely on the same trajectory, and it's an upward spiral for us. Yeah, so coming off the Commanders' loss there, we travel to the Raiders, Las Vegas, and we're coming away with a victory once again.
We're coming, yeah. I don't think we need to dwell on that one too much. I think it's
Oh yeah, we covered it. That's a win too.
Easy. Moving on to 2 home games in a row against the Packers and the Jaguars. I'm hopeful.
Packers is one I've got us coming out with a loss, Mark. I think this end of the season's quite tough, and again the Packers is just one of those. They're doing well. They've got some weapons in again, especially on that O line. And as Mario was saying, that is important. And they signed a guard. I think it was Aaron Banks they brought in for some big money over close season. They've signed Anthony Belton in round 2 of the draft, and all these weapons just to protect Jordan Love. So, and again, the investment in the wide receivers as well. I think they brought in Matthew Golden in round 1, didn't they? And then I think somebody else.
One of my favourite picks of the draft. I mean, the reaction in Green Bay when they drafted a wide receiver. It's a memorable one, that one. And he hyped them up, didn't he? He came out and he hyped that crowd up. Will he perform? I think he'll be a fantastic weapon for them.
And such a young team as well, aren't they? That's the thing as well, what they're building there. A bit like us, we've got quite a young roster, but I think the Packers have had the youngest roster for the last couple of years, I think. So they're building something good, and I think this one's a tricky one. But
if this game was in Green Bay, I'd definitely have it down as a loss. I've got us down as a victory on this one, but so we'll let Mario be the tiebreaker.
That's fantastic because I have it as a victory as well. The Broncos historically play really well against the Packers at home. I just I don't believe in Jordan Love late in the season. I think LaFleur has done a fantastic job, and he's a big reason why Jordan Love has been as good as he's been. But a lot of people saying, oh, they went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. And it just feels like that dragon meme where there's one dopey one. I think a lot of Jordan Love's success has been a result of LaFleur, and honestly, I think they kind of tipped their hand to that when they finally took a round one wide receiver. To me, that's them admitting a bit that we don't have the faith in Jordan Love that we had in Aaron Rodgers to the point where we never drafted a first round wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. This is a make or break season for LaFleur and the Packers because they consistently have a very good roster and they consistently win a lot of games, but they tend to fizzle when the season is on the line and when they have a chance to really stamp their name on what as like one of the elite teams in the NFL. The fact that it's a home game is massive because, again, like I said, the Broncos have had a lot of sustained success at home against the Packers, and I just don't believe in Jordan Love. I think they got themselves into a bit of a sticky wicket in it with the Jordan Love contract. They were required to do so. It was something that they needed to do. I don't think he's worth that much money, and I think we're going to see that firsthand on December 14th.
I hope you're right. I hope you're both right and prove me wrong with that one. And because that's looking at the record at this point of the season, if we're anywhere close, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
At this point you've secured playoff football ages ago, potentially, when we'd just be gunning for that AFC West and the divisional title.
Yeah, I mean, we're rolling off the back of a winning at home to Green Bay, and then I can see another win coming against the Jaguars, which we'll skip past a little bit because I think we'll all go for a victory on that one.
Can't wait to see Travis Hunter, and this is also my infant son's birthday, December 21st. He will be 1 on that day, and there's no way that the Broncos are losing to the Jaguars on his birthday.
Absolutely not. It'd be the perfect birthday present if the Broncos can drum up another victory there. And it will be good to see Travis Hunter play. Where will he play? Will he play both sides? Will he just play offense? Will he just play defense? That's still to be seen. But he's an exciting player for sure, isn't he?
Well, Pat Surtain will have him in hell, and then Cortland Sutton will have him in hell. As much as I like Travis Hunter, this is going to be a rough game for him.
Hey, we know RJ Harvey can have him as well with that wheel route.
That's right.
Yeah. So obviously, if we've talked the Chiefs game, we all think we're losing away in Arrowhead. And from discussions earlier, we were thinking that we'd split the Chargers series, which would mean a victory on the final day to hopefully lock up that number 1 seed in the AFC and give us that first round bye.
I've got a little bit of a hot take for you boys. I don't think this game is going to matter. I think win or loss, it's not going to matter. I think if everything goes according to plan and the Broncos play the way that they should this season and they take that next step. I mean, guys, last year they had one of the worst rosters in the NFL, according to a lot of experts, and they won 10 games and they went to the playoffs in a rebuilding year with a rookie quarterback who did not have a run game. All of their weaknesses that they had, no pass catching tight end. They went in, they went on, they got a top 5 guy. Shaky, safety play from the free safety position. They went out and get Talanoa Hufanga, who, if he's healthy, is a top 5, top 10 safety in the league. They were really thin at inside backer. They went out and they got, for my money, the best inside linebacker in free agency in Dre Greenlaw. They knocked the draft out of the park. They got probably the best cover corner in the league or in the draft. They added a running back who fits perfectly with Sean Payton and what he wants to do. They got, I didn't love this comparison, but Sean Payton got his Michael Thomas 2.0. I would love to see him, maybe step on an NFL field before comparing him to a guy that has set NFL records, but whatever.
we likened the Mario.
Yo, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying we've been liking them a little bit to again, a bit like the Devon Vellier role last year. A Tim Patrick,
Yeah.
it's just that assurity, isn't it? Is what you're getting from.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like the Broncos are a very young team. They do not have a lot of age, which I think is good because they got the experience that they needed last season. This team went to the playoffs, they got their teeth kicked in, and they know now what it takes, and they know now that playoff football is different. If
Yeah.
this team does not win at least 12 games, to me, that's a letdown. This team needs to win 12, 13, hell, maybe even 14 games because, again, they solidified every single part of this roster. All of their weaknesses, they turned into strengths. As long as that trend continues and Sean Payton is able to be Sean Payton and do his thing, this is one of the best teams in the league. And I'm going to leave my orange tinted glasses on because that is exactly how I feel and what I believe. And so, to round out my monologue here, the reason that I don't think the week 18 game is going to matter is because I think the Broncos will have secured, at the very least, the AFC West title. And I don't think that that game will be meaningful. I'm not saying that they're going to be the number one seed in the AFC. But what I am saying is I think they secure the AFC West and they're going to get to rest their starters. And it's going to be a little bit of a situation like last season where the Chiefs were able to rest all of their starters and the Broncos needed to win. I think that's a situation. So even if they do lose, I think that's why.
Love
I
it.
mean, I'd be absolutely delighted if that's the case. And like you said, we should be winning 12 games this season at a minimum. We have us down as winning 13 on our just predictions tonight. So I think that'll be one hell of a season for us. Um, yeah, I've enjoyed those discussions there on the Broncos. Your way too early predictions for the season. And I know you're short of time, but we did have one more sort of skit game we'd like to get through there if you
Let's do
could
it.
commit to that. Yeah, amazing. So we'll stop sharing this and we'll move on to a little snake draft system